Hi everyone, this is Michelle with Michelle's Canine Training, and today I want to demonstrate how to teach a dog to do sit from the very beginning. Here I have Riley, who is my Siberian Husky. She's about 4 years old, and the tools we will be using today, the prong collar and a leash. So I'm going to be putting the prong on her now. Good. So one thing I want to mention is that normally with the prong collar, you want it to go around right behind their ears, and you want it to be in front of the e-collar. As you can see right now, she has the e-collar on and then the prong collar. And the reasoning for that is just that she has been trained for 4 years now, and we work on this stuff every single day. So the prong collar for me is more like a collar. Oh yes, and another thing I want to specify is since we are practicing sits, ideally you want the area where the leash connects to be at the top, because when teaching sits, what I like to do is, let's get her up and moving then. All right, normally I would like for her to be standing up. And what I like to do is I like to lift the collar up, sit, good. What I want to specify is that the moment her back starts dropping, you can release the pressure. So the idea is that once she starts doing the motion that is in line with what you want, you release the pressure to get them to know that they are starting to do the right thing. And then you let her finish it off. And once her butt hits the ground, you praise her, and that's it. So let's try that again. Sit. Good. You want to say the command the moment you pull up and apply the pressure. So when you're indoors, you just want to make sure that the dog understands what the command is. Eventually, you will start layering on the e-collar with the command. So when you're indoors, you mainly just want to practice over and over again and start adding differences. So I'm going to be moving around. I can start moving further away from her. Change up the duration for sure, because I'd say the beginning is just phase one of training this command, right? We're indoors right now. It's quiet. There's not much other noise going on, so it's easier for her to focus on me. So after you've spent a decent amount of time repeating and proofing your sit command indoors where there's minimal distractions, the next step is to take them outdoors. I need to first get her up and walking around a little bit. Okay, so similar to what I demonstrated indoors, what I usually do when I want to teach a dog to sit is a gentle leash pressure upwards while they are wearing the prong collar. So we do a little of this. Sit, good. I said my command a little bit delayed there, but generally you want to say sit just as the pressure goes up, and you want to reward them the second their butt hits the ground. Timing on praise is really important, because the moment the dog does the correct action, you just want to mark it. So it gives them reinforcement, and it also gives them confidence that they are doing what you're asking them to do. Another thing you want to keep in mind is that when your dog is shaking, there might be moments early on in training where they shake a lot. There might be times when dogs want to shake because they're not really interested in doing the work, or maybe they have experience where they shake and their handler doesn't follow through on doing the command because they feel like the dog might be uncomfortable, or any sort of situations like that. But the important thing is to remember that even if they're shaking, you're still asking them to follow through on the same thing. So for example, when she was shaking when I lifted the leash, there's no need to release the pressure until she finishes doing the command. Break. Good job. Another trick you can do if you're having a really hard time getting your dog to sit just from leash pressure is you could place your hand gently on their back and help guide them down while you lift up. So you can do sit, good. So something I really like to encourage is before you release your dog for all sorts of commands, I want to have eye contact, because I want her to have her attention on me, looking to me for guidance before she is able to be released from her commands. So I'm going to wait for her to look at me. Good. Break. Good job. Good job. Sit. Good. So another thing you can start practicing when you're outdoors is be a distraction yourself. walk around her. You could get close, be active, step around her in a sense. Things that would maybe normally cause a dog to maybe get up. And she is normally, I would say, a dog in the early stages of sit won't be giving you this much eye contact. They'll most likely be distracted by all sorts of different sounds. We've got a drone flying around in the background. Eventually, if you feel confident enough, you could always drop the leash and walk away. Of course, in the beginning, you don't want to allow for too much distance between you and your dog. There's a concept called spatial pressure, where the closer you are to your dog, the more influence they feel from you and the more likely they would do what you say. So for example, if I was all the way at the other end of the field and I gave her a command, even if I did it loudly, if she was not the type of dog that really would care to listen to me, she doesn't see a reason or motivation to follow through because I'm all the way over there. I would have to get all the way over to her in order to give her like this kind of presence, waiting for her attention. Good. Break. Good job. Sit. Good. So over time, as you practice your sits, you could start adding distance to you and your dog. So here, I'm keeping, I think this leash is about 4 feet. I'm keeping a 4 feet distance to her, but gradually you can drop the leash, step back a little more, and just continue to act as a distraction. And another point I'd like to make is a sit for a dog, if held for a very long time, it can be exhausting. So you don't want to have them staying there for too long. Break. Good job. So once you start working with your dog outside, the main things you want to focus on are maybe increasing distance over time, working on duration, working on their attention to you. The important thing about taking your dog outside and getting them used to doing commands in a variety of environments is training them to always be attentive to you regardless of where you are. If you end up taking your dog in public, there's no guarantee it's going to be an environment that they're used to. And that means that there's going to be way more distractions. And even with those added distractions, you want to make sure that your dog is used to instinctually looking to you for guidance and listening to you. And that's what this is basically all about. When you're indoors, you're the only focus. There's minimal noises that can happen. There's no wind blowing around, there's no birds chirping, there's no dogs barking, none of that. But once you go outside, there's a ton of things competing for your attention. If you want to add a little bit more challenge when it comes to doing obedience commands with your dog, you could always start adding in toy distractions. So for example, she loves to play fetch, and oftentimes I like to challenge her just for a little bit during our play sessions by putting her either in a sit or a down, and then I throw the ball. And it takes a lot of restraint for her not to chase after that ball, but instead to place a higher value over following through on the command. So if your dog loves to play tug, you might toss a toy at her while she's following through on a command. Any sort of toy works, but the important thing is just come up with ideas where you think it might be challenging for your dog and throw it at them during training sessions. Maybe a little bit at a time, and then you can always increase the difficulty, but that's the challenge and fun of training. Sit. Good girl. Eventually, with enough practice and repetition, a fun challenge you can do with your dog is seeing how far you're able to go out while still remaining in line of sight for the sit command. Break. Good. All right, that's it for this video. If you liked it and you found it helpful, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate it. And I will see you in the next video.